Hey all, I am about to go through the last one-way ANOVA video. So this is for APA style notation and results. So if you don't know how to connect the test, go back a couple of videos to watch that. So first of all, this is the way that the notation works for APA. You can see that we have the F statistic here, which is italicized, telling us what test was conducted. You'll report the degrees of freedom between, a comma, and then degrees of freedom within. You'll report the actual F statistic. You'll report the P and then the P value. And you'll report your effect size, which is the eta squared. So as I've talked about in other videos, I want you to, and in class I've talked about this, I want you to report the actual p-value, not just less than 0.05 or greater than 0.05, unless it's really small. And then you could write p less than 0.001 or p less than 0.01. So here, we'll go ahead and run through this example. So for this example, we would write out our degrees of freedom between is this 2, and then have a comma, and that degrees of freedom within is 32 there. So I would say 2 comma 32, and then my F statistic is going to go here. So that would be the 1.07. Just going to round up. And our p-value is going to go there, 0.36. And our eta squared effect size is 0.06. So now I would use that to talk about the overall results. If I did have a significant overall result, I would then report any significant pairwise comparisons using the t-test methodology, which you can go back to different videos if you need a refresher on that. But I'm going to go ahead and go to writing this out in AP style. So here you can see our notation. So this is the notation I'm going to use. I'm going to insert that right into our paragraph. And as always, I start with the type of test. So one-way ANOVA, you could also say a one-way between subjects ANOVA. This is a Fisher's ANOVA. You could call it the Fisher's one-way ANOVA. And then it determined there is no significant difference. So we're just saying that there's no significant difference. And we want to talk about the dependent variable. So in self-efficacy scale scores. And then I use this by pop quiz reaction, but you could always say, across the different pop quiz reaction groups. You could even name the groups. So there's different ways you can write that out. And then I like to, as you know, do a comma and then put your APA notation here. It's a really nice, clean way to summarize your results that other people are able to read in your field. Then, because there's no overall difference, I went ahead and just wrote that. Said there's no overall difference, so post hoc tests are not necessary. You could include the mean and standard deviation of each group. You could refer to a table with the information on those groups. In this example, I just left it very simple and straightforward because there is no difference. And so any descriptive difference between groups is just sampling error. So I personally wouldn't report the difference between the groups in terms of like their actual means and standard deviations, but you certainly can. This video does not go through that, but if you did want to see how I wrote that out or how I made a table, you could go to the repeated measures ANOVA, which would work very similarly. It's just that in that video, I'm talking about measures repeated multiple times for the same people. So that's all I have on one-way ANOVA, and I will see you next time.